But it's what if the leader say this is the direction we're also going, because that's the whole template of the political party. We are going this direction. Relax, learn, endure. Your time will come. But right now, this is the direction we are following. And
you like it.
every other person, whether it's good for our politics or it's not good for our politics, is a structure that people have invested blood, money, resources into. And somebody who just, walk through certain privileges will not just come and say, now that is his own turn, he will not want to align.
Right.
The system will probably take care of such resistance, as the case may be.
Thank you, Mr. Wealth Ogunleye. Oduyemi.
Yes.
Okay. What I would like to bring you into the same philosophy, as it concerns Nigerian politics, what is playing out now. Once the one at the head says that it's going to be this way, everybody has to play along that same line. I'd like to see how you, agree with this, with respect to what is panning out in the 3 states right now, even prior before these elections.
Okay, I agree with Mr. DME that this has been an argument, but as far as we know in Nigerian politics, we found in many states that this structure has been bullied successfully. For instance, in the PDP, we had Atiku move over to the APC. At some point, he came back and I think moved again even the second time. Now, there were people that were on ground. They were on the ground before he came back. And then, actually, that was part of what they were using against him when he came back. Even within the River State, there were people that were on ground running a structure. And then VK will come and say, look, we have been on ground. So you can't just come up from nowhere. You went out and you came back when the PDP was nowhere. And also, all of those structure analysis have been there. But then, in some states, some people have been able to successfully overthrow such structures. But then, but the reality is that structure is what runs political parties. But I want to beg Nigerian politicians that it shouldn't just be about the structure, but about the principles. The principles. We don't hear about structure in the United States. What we hear about is the principles. Conservatives. The Republicans are conservatives. The Democrats are more free-willed. That's what we hear. So a Republican, we know what to expect from a Republican. But here, what we hear is structure. And when the structure comes up, what we see is corruption, is massive looting. Is that what the structure is bringing to us? So if we know that this person is a thief, and your structure is bringing him, shouldn't the people cry out to say, look, take this thief off the line and bring somebody else, even if he's not the best he's not the first in your hierarchy? So that's where we query this structure thing we do. If it's okay, it's time for the South, or time for the North, Southern or Northern part of Nigeria. Now, your structure, the person your Northern structure is bringing out, is a known drug baron. Should Nigerians sit back and accept him? That's where the fight against the structure is coming up. But, Babasokwe, we agree with you, that's your structure. But, Ogadete, if the head has eaten rotten apples, should the body contain it? We should be able to spew it out. So let them not use structure and lead us into rebellion. That's just my worry about the cry for structure.
Okay, let's move up to Bayelsa State, where we have more supposed tensions coming out from there. When you talk about Bayelsa State, we first of all think of the incumbent governor, Diodiri, and Timothy Silva. Now, we have to, let's look at this conversation. Goodluck Jonathan, former president of Nigeria, has voted at his Obia ward in Bayelsa State. The former president said after booting that Nigerians should try to do away with off-cycle elections, saying the presidential election in May also becomes off-cycle if the practice is not stopped. Now, when we talk about off-cycle elections, these are supposed to be states that were, for some reasons, couldn't follow exactly the procedures, follow the same timing as other states, and couldn't round up. So we had reasons to actually postpone. So with respect to this, I would like to call in Barrister Kine at this moment. Barrister, I would like you to attend to this report coming from Ebele the former president, Ebele Goodluck Jonathan.
Yeah, the election in Barrister, I think reports are coming so far to the effect that it's master deployment of security and presentation and vote going on. And that's why the former president of Senate of Nigeria, has done that constitutional duty of voting decide choice of and then he has also made a declaration about how this happened and how it's very difficult to change that situation without creating a constitutional law. Because the constitution of the federal government of Nigeria created the office of the governor of the state of each of the state of the federal government of Nigeria. Also provided for 10 years of those governors. They have to be elected for the first time for 4 years and then be re-elected for another term. Then the constitution envisaged the 4 years to be a date of taking of oath of office. So the 4-year term of the governor will commence that day. So what happened to these states that have having offset elections was that either in the circumstance of the removal of the governor, or when we were having the midterm elections, when the constitution was yet to be to take to create some correction to that effect. So it got to where the time that some governors have to run off their time from where the rest of the over 25 or 6 governors would usually run their time. So if you want to do off with off-cycle election for these states, it will mean that there will be a vacuum which will never be at the time that the office of the current governor will last before the next general election. Or at the time the general election will be taking place just after 2023, at the time we are having the election and other states are having the election in March. These governors whose elections are now in November still have these funds to complete their 4-year term. So if there will be anything to change this situation, then it has to be constitutional issue. Either there will be a difference at some point, or we will be telling it was okay. Tenure of these governors will last, and between that period of the next election, we will not continue to elect the governor. But the Speaker of the House of Assembly should ask such things about who say require a constitutional alteration. Because the circumstance that it could only have the Speaker of the State House of Assembly become the governor is
okay.
The governor and the deputy governor will either removed from office or for whatever reason they are unable to perform their functions. So if that situation does not arise, you can have, so it's a data one really. It's a good thing the president has observed, but I don't know what advantage that will start that process. If
okay.
we have elections in all the states after the presidential election, it's really more advantageous to have offset elections to the extent that is focused on just 3 states.
Okay.
So, yes, I it's focused to speak more about the deployment of materials, but are relatively okay in both of these 3 states. It's because they are focused on these states. The security is the same thing. Media is the same thing. The attention of and every other of that approved. So that's some form of an advantage.
All right.
So I think moving forward,
okay.
What is about observing the provision of the Electoral Act, the guidelines formulated by NS pursuant to provision constitutional president power We have the elections conducted in substantial compliance with its rules, laws, the electoral permit, the constitution, and the deadline. It doesn't really matter when time elections are holding. Whether elections are conducted at the time other governors concluded their election or other states will have their election. What we're really concerned about is transparency of it and then the credibility of the election.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Barrister Harry Ekine. That's a nice narrative and reaction from you. I would like to take it off from here right now, Barrister John Mark. You're talking about the off-cycle elections as it concerns these three states and the pan out of events. Can we really begin to have a conversation that concerns it is actually not having any situation that results to such periods and times where some states will still have to conduct their own elections after the specified period that every other state actually does theirs?
Well, like Mr. Kenneth said, it's a matter of it's a constitutional issue. It's a constitutional issue, and then in my view, Rivers State would have been part of this situation, but I think the Supreme Court learns from these other states and decided to nullify outrightly the election of Celestino Meyer into office, and said, in their words, that election never, Celestino Meyer never existed. His election into office never existed, and then, well, we know that was altered later on, and then, but we didn't go back. So it then meant that Rotimi Amechi, His Excellency, didn't start his tenure when he ought to have started. Mm-hmm. So he did some months later. So we should be talking about an off-cycle election. Mm-hmm. But because the Supreme Court said no, that the previous person never existed, then his tenure took off from the previous person's tenure. So he was shortchanged in a way. Yeah. We still have projects that were carried out by that person who never existed. Mm-hmm. So are those contracts valid contracts?
Yeah.
Like, those issues are there. So that's what ought to have been for these other cases too. If Hope Uzodinma comes into office 1 year, 2 years after this other person had been in the office, you don't need to go back and start doing elections. You say, look, you came in, what should happen is that person never existed. If you say the person came by fraud and you've nullified that, then go take it back. Backdate it. You don't need to make us to start doing off-cycle election because the expenses are there. I know it has its advantages, concentration of security, INEC personnel and everything, but I don't think we're taking advantage of it. We're still in the crisis. So that's that. Now, to cure this anomaly,
yes,
as the way, I think the National Assembly, the House of Assembly, the House of Reps and the Senate have to do something with regards to these states.
Okay.
And it's simple. Let's have it reversed. This man that is in office now running this, look, for this reason, for that reason, let's have a referendum, let's have an agreement within the House.
Okay.
If they're able to reach some consensus, reach some agreement, there are ways to amend these things. And then in reference to those particular states, you reverse it.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, okay, you do a salary payment across the board, the remaining months. You understand? So it's a matter of months. It doesn't even take a year. Mm-hmm. So you do a salary payment. So he gets payment for that period to cover up for the things he does. So he does his project and knows that he has to round off. So let it be a matter of it doesn't need to be an amendment, but it could still be an amendment, just a provision. 2-3 sections can take care of that, and then we have a level playing ground for everybody.
Thank you, Barrister John Mark. I'd like to bring you in, Mr. Wealth. The issues that usually result to these states that have to really have a different period where they have to still conduct their own elections. So are we supposed to begin to look at INEC? Are these as a result of some incompetencies coming from the INEC or some irregularities? What actually the reasons for this sort of situations that we have here? Because going back to what Barrister John Mark just talked about, when we take the case of Celestino Meyer, as a case study, we begin to wonder why someone would have been sworn into office and all of a sudden you begin to tell that nothing like that existed, it becomes invalid and all that. So are we supposed to begin to look at INEC to do things the proper way to avoid all of this mess?
Well, I want to believe that casting our mind back as to what led to some of these states having different timetable or period for the election are all unresolved matters at the tribunal, coupled with certain irregularities. Oftentimes, I know you may not want to blame it on INEC. Parties or players in such matters, oftentimes I know, could probably at a stage of ventilating their displeasure or accepting the result of the election, will of course want to approach the court to get a better interpretation. And you know that some of the fallout of these matters in court necessitated various amendments to the Electoral Act. And because of that, consider the fact that some of these things also is working in progress, you will see that flaws noticeable at a particular time of election. You will see some persons who probably want to applaud INEC. You also see some persons who want to say, oh, this is a rape on the democracy. This is not what our forebears or our forefathers fought for. And as a result of that, there will be advocacy for review of the Electoral Act. And each time there is always Electoral Act, you will see as much as the system is trying to solve a particular problem, you discover that you are creating more problems are being created. And there again, we now find ourselves in a roller coaster, which of course necessitated why some of these states have, because time frame has to, ascertain or authenticate the result declared by INEC. INEC will, as much as possible, will probably wants to guard their integrity and also adhere to the provisions of the law setting it in relation with the election season. So oftentimes it's something to which you cannot apparently put a stop to it, because much as you're doing that, some other aggrieved person or persons who have different opinion will also want to say no, it is our right, or they will see it to a logical conclusion.
You know what's actually causing some of this is the pre-election matters, not even the election petitions, properly speaking. Yes, the pre-election matters, and that's what we need to look into. Most of this, this issue of Bayelsa State, the lion now that was to come in, it was to come in, and then on the day he was sworn in, the results came up, and then he was kicked out of office he had not even entered into. Now, you have, what do you call him now? In the case of Celeste now, he had been sworn in. It was a pre-election matter coming up. It was not an election matter. Now, the matter, he had been sworn in, he had served for some months. And then the Supreme Court gave that decision. Using the two scenarios, ordinarily, we should have reversed it, because it then meant that Amaechi didn't complete his tenure. So his tenure should have started from that day. But his tenure didn't start. It now waited till... it was backdated. So these are just the challenges around this thing. So I think to sort this out, there should be... Now, but the funny thing about the reverse state situation is that even though his tenure started from... His tenure was made was backdated to 29th May. You may recall that recently, before His Excellency and Governor Wike left the office, he reversed the decision and paid him back salaries, and put him as a governor. So what happens to reverse people's money?
Okay. Now,
so the office of the governor has taken 2 salaries for 1 month. This person took, that person has also taken. Celestin took his own. Then since Amaechi was brought back, he took his salaries for that period. Now, Wike was brought in. Wike brought this guy back. So they keep playing with the fortunes of the state. So I think in that same vein, we should reverse these things and go back to the ones May 29th to thereabouts thing for all the states. Even though I must admit it's a difficult thing to do. But part of it too, just to round off on this, part of it to work on is, if we could in Rivers State single-handedly as a state, without waiting for the Senate and the House of Rep sort out our issues with the ex-governor or the person that was never a governor in the first place, if we could sort that out, although I hold my view that Supreme Court decision was not a correct decision, I've always held that view. It was a wrong decision, has no place in law. The one that brought Rotimi Amaechi into office was never a decision to have been held in the field. It had no basis in law. But that was the Supreme Court decision. Later on, they came to reverse it, but it had already come to play. He had been made a governor. So if we could do that in Rivers State to regularize our situation, let us do that in these other states. Within their houses of assembly, they can also do something and sort out the matter.
Thank you very much, Barrister John Mark. So, in the absence of election materials, this is a serious threat to the polls, and we're going to look at this conversation right now. Saturday's governorship election in Imo State took off in some parts of the state on a shaky note with low voter turnout and absence of election officials and materials. At some polling units visited, according to reports that in some polling units, some voters were seen, along with security personnel, waiting for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, officials and materials as at 8:30 a.m. at polling unit 001, Ekama Primary School, Awaka 1, near Owerri. Some voters and security personnel were present. Some voters and security personnel were present while electoral officials and materials were being awaited. A voter, Mrs. Hilda Nadi, said that she was confident that the materials would soon be brought to the unit. I believe materials will soon arrive and will vote. I'll be present, Nadi said. The same situation also prevailed at polling unit 002, Ekama Primary School, Awaka 2, and polling unit 003, Community Primary School, Amapo, Awaka. A voter, Mr. Fidelis Wokedi, also expressed confidence in the process. It's an off-cycle election, and I believe that INEC has all it takes to make it successful. I'm hopeful that they will soon be here, he said. The situation at polling unit 004, Community Primary School, Amapu, Awaka 2, and polling unit 016, Emohe Village Hall, was largely different, with low voter turnout, absence of security personnel, INEC officials, and materials. A visibly disappointed voter, Miss Amaka Opara said, only very few of us are here, and there is no security, not even one police officer. All right, this is it's too early to start feeling pathetic for these people that have come out. Actually, I was saying this morning in the morning that I was saying to a friend that it's actually surprising that people still, try their best to come out to do, exercise their civic rights. But going with what we have right now, we believe strongly, hope is something that you can't rule out the issue of hope as a human being. So with all of that has really happened, we still had hope that INEC would really do something different. We were told that 30,000 police officers, 40,000 police officers, a good number of them were deployed in these states respectively. And here we are having reports. These are direct reports from. I'd like to bring in Barrister Ekene. Barrister Ekene, I would like you to have your reaction to what is happening in Igbo State right away.
Process is the police. This government is preventing the electoral less disturbed elections. And I think not only can create with less civil defense for that price support for direct electoral future that further engage in the I heard the reports also where some of the parents do not find the presence of this personnel. That's unfortunate. I think the only thing I will do here is to call on the police and then the commissioner of police and other senior police officers that are assigned for the take put of cases, deploy policemen to provide security for the. But what is more important Elections actually are civil action, civil event, civil process. That the people should understand. I think that advocate is very strong. That Nigeria electors should always it has this supposed to be a joyful exercise where you confront your responsibility and where the protection of Constitution Section 14 is some place to the effect that you participate in the governance process. This is the stage to do so. But it's unfortunate when we expect all kinds of criminal behavior, anti-social behaviors, electoral violence, and forms of electoral offenses, even to the point that Nigeria to real terms and degrade the electoral appeals, the national appeals, and attack the people who are down to perform responsibility. Otherwise, we should have elections go on without really explaining the terms about presence of security. But it is our electoral process, electoral venues are of rights. And a situation where if parents will punish their children, they don't go out to the election day is always very volatile.
Yeah.
People are usually killed and come into their life. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So I think if we develop a report, we really understand what exactly elections are.
Yes.
And then the political parties have a lot to do with the significant role to play in this regard. Because everybody that participates in the election is either going to one political party or the other, whether you're in that political party or not. So some are actual members of political parties, supporters of political parties, or candidates of course are just political parties by provision of our constitution. So even those who are not members of political parties are definitely coming out that to support one political party or another. If the political parties carry the appropriate message, join their campaigns and their meetings and convention and protests. Again, if the electoral commission carries up its responsibility with respect to voter education properly and develop that point, of course, the report was to the fact that the government was telling the police and the security and any officials, the party check, that somewhere could be.
Okay.
Forget about go back and electoral violence that will definitely take place because the people are poor. So if all of these are considered totally, the fight for the balance is to provide the wealth for citizens and the people are satisfied with the balance process.
Okay.
That it will have some effect in the electoral process. Basically, that's what we need to do.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Kine. We really wonder why the materials are not present. You know, we have not just the materials not present, the whole designated polling units. You know, people definitely there's no way we would have the kind of turnout we had in the February March elections, but at least people still had the conviction in their hearts, and they still trooped out. At their numbers, but these are the reports we're having. And this morning there was a general restriction of vehicular movement in Imo State. So this means that we actually had the report that these materials had already been moved to the respective polling units in preparation for today. So why are we having this report out to you, Mr. Wealth? How far do we hope to really go? Because in all of this, we need to get these elections done, dusted and settled. I wonder if there are reasons for these elections not to hold. Are we still going to have a shift of date?
I think it's not alien for us to experience what we are seeing or what the report is coming through from various polling units in Imo State. Even in the February election, we had instances where there are delays on the class of personnel of INEC and of course materials. For the Imo scenario, it's worrisome that about this period we are still experiencing. These are some of the things we talked about when we are considering the genuinity of INEC to really conduct free and fair. I know we have logistics related matter, and so you know that security concern with that part of the country. I want to believe that in fairness to INEC, the materials will arrive, just like we experienced in the February election, that voting went on late in the night, and it was an experience for some of us, who witnessed that in our various locations. I want to believe that the chances of persons within that space to carry out their civil responsibility will be given, and then on record time they will be able to cast their vote. But it's just a call for INEC and their officials, because I don't want to believe that it's a calculated stance to disenfranchise persons within that area. These are some of the things to which we talked about. And by the time you get to see it now, you probably want to go to the tribunal, and then the tribunal will be asking parties to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And if you cannot prove beyond reasonable doubt, then probably the matter will be solved. So I don't want to subject my thinking. I just want to express a benefit of the doubt that it could be logistic related, and insecurity concern. People are very skeptical and of course cautious with regards to movement of things, like what we had in Bayelsa. Some persons were adopted, boat capsizing, stuff like that. To avoid all of those, benefit of the doubt to INEC, I think the material will come and the people will be able to vote.
All right, so talking about logistic-related challenges, Barrister John Mark, I would like us to really be fair on ourselves and Nigeria as a whole, because you keep doing things the same way. You keep doing things the same way. There's a description that calls that madness in a way. When you keep doing things the same way and expect a different result, it looks as if you actually don't mean to have well or good out of that. So we've had over time situations where materials don't actually arrive on time. That's fair enough. Or materials don't even arrive at all, and people stay waiting in vain. But then, are we not? Is it not gotten to a point where we should be having a conversation that INEC has really gone beyond that level, where, if possible, the INEC officials should actually find a place close to these polling units, so that once the day breaks and they know that this is the slated time, they are there? How can you explain at this moment that we don't have the materials, the officials are not even there, no security official is there? So are we still going to be talking about this? There should be some level of improvement coming from INEC.
Well, you said it all. There should really be an improvement. But then the challenge we have to get used to in Nigeria, unfortunately, is that we have a problem of road networks. Road network. Now, I've been involved as a voter and as an INEC staff, INEC ad hoc staff, as a youth corper. I was involved fully registration and even in the election process. So network was a problem. Road network was a problem. We were the local government headquarters, Ikpokia local government headquarters. And then we had to move to a village I can't remember the name. The movement we left around 6 to drive down to the place. We left around 7 or so. Before we could get to the place, it was around 8, 9, thereabout. When we got there, we now had to wait at the headquarters of the place to distribute the materials amongst us, and now enter a bike down to the interior of our unit particularly. So the people there were waiting for us. It was around 9, 10. They were like, people are not here, but we are on our way. In fact, we are set to move from like 5 o'clock. But we could get there only around 10 o'clock. So logistics is a problem, and I hope that INEC will improve. But talking about proof and all of the rest when they go to tribunal, which I know they usually will get to, they're not required to prove beyond reasonable doubt. It's actually on the preponderance of evidence, which evidence is weightier, just like when Mr. Kene was talking, he talked about substantial compliance. Substantial compliance, that's where the problem is. Because
we would like to throw more light on that.
There's something we call the blue pencil rule. Okay, if you say we have 21 local government or 23 local governments in a particular state, and then you are able to establish corrupt practices, voter apathy, and all of that in 3 to 4. Now you have about 19 to 18 states remaining. If it is proved that those states, that there was substantial compliance in those states, whereas there was no compliance at all or very minimal compliance in those 3 or 4, the results from the 18 to 19 states will fly above the others. So that's the problem. That's how we've been running our democracy. So we don't run with perfection. We don't run with a mindset of perfection. That's the challenge. So INEC is satisfied that in Port Harcourt, okay, in Yanagua, we reached everywhere. But maybe they're moving the material. You see them driving in, flying in to Yanagua. We are there, we're on ground, we're doing elections. You see, they'll go to Brass. They'll stop at the Brass, they'll stop at Gogena, they'll reach this major area, they'll go to Kogi, they'll stop in one area. You know, they've reached the major place, they're in Owerri. Now, but how do you get to Amapu? How do you get to Mbese? Now, those matters are issues that need to be sorted out. Can you send these people to these very interior places a day before with security personnel? For crying out loud, these are just 3 states. How many? We have enough military force. Now, that takes me back to the issue of off-cycle elections. I really think we should stop doing elections in one day.
Right.
That February thing we do, I think we should stop it. For the presidential elections, maybe yes, but for the general, we don't have enough personnel. Let's tell ourselves the truth. You see, we keep following the what we see abroad. We are not coming down to ourselves. We're not truthful to ourselves. There was a time the former governor was announcing that's Rotimi Amechi was announcing that in no time gas turbine is going to work. We're going to have power. They're going to have power in River State generating power. And I was just sitting there watching him. When he finished talking, I told my friend, this is a lie. This is a big lie. Not because he wants to lie, but because he knows that what he's saying cannot work. Have you been to Bile? Have you been to there are interior places that you'll be shocked that no school at all. They need to, for them to even cross over to where they can see school, they need to watch the water tide. So they get up to 12 years, 14 years before somebody from that village can enter primary 1. In River State, it's not outside River State too. I'm sure you are shocked.
I'm not really shocked because I know of a place called Okake.
Okay.
Okake is actually at the outskirts of River State. It's actually after Ibugini, right inside Yenagba, but it's within. It's a community that is in River State. So when you're posted there, you actually have to go into Bayelsa. You will see welcome to Yenagwa. You pass Ibugini before you get it, but you know you are in River State. So getting to that community alone is something else.
So you now tell me we're in River State, we're on ground. The election will hold peacefully. The election will go on as planned. Everything is in place. Then you now start moving from Port Harcourt, off Wemoha, to Okake, telling me you will do election by 6 o'clock, by 8 o'clock. Come on.
Okay, so can't the officials sleep around or
That's
stay
the
close
point.
to that?
That's the point I'm making. Knowing our peculiarity, we can't do elections in one day. Break it down to 6, 6, 6, 33. Deploy military men, police officers, naval officers, because of the waterways in Brass, in this community and that community. I've stayed in Yenegua, so I can tell you the waterways. I'm not going, for instance, in 5.
Again, Barrister Harry Ekine. Barrister, as it is right now with what is happening in Imo State, would like to have your take on this. If this has any way it portrays or connects to the strike that was supposed to actually commence, though there has been a legal warning to stop the strike. So would like to know if that has anything to do with the information we're just getting that there are no election materials, the election officials, not even the security agencies are on ground.
Well, there are many factors that are responsible to voter apathy or non-availability of voter officials at the place of the election. One of which is what my colleague there in the studio actually spoken so much about. Logistical issues, access to some places. I wouldn't know if it's away, but I doubt it's being away. Other communities outside of the state or those very popular like communities or towns around it. So if it's outside the way, then it's possible that will be a problem. Another factor could be security issues. We have always spoken about the three stages of electoral violence, and then they have effects. The election violence will have the effect of late deployment of materials or in some cases availability of materials. Places are highly susceptible to violence, and that indications are actually shown during or before elections. Then you could also have situations where the materials have managed to places people wouldn't show up, and that is what you describe as what happened. So insecurity is a very serious issue. So in case of Imo State, I think it may be security actually. It's a mix of the security Southeast and including Imo State, even before the elections, and then the very late that now is connected to what you mentioned, the NLC debacle, and then of course the reported attack and July probably by the report of police, but for the NLC president, it's actually an arrest by the police, and then that he was handed over to some dogs where he was assaulted and taken bodily injuries. Now, between all of these, Eva is correct. But in all of these, there has been palpable security threats mostly before the elections, and even with just before the week of the election, and continuously in that regard. So I think that INEC themselves are also very sensitive, careful in terms of election. INEC has a guideline that where it's been so highly reported that a place is seriously laced with security to the extent that not the material, they will not go there for election. And that I think I shall support that with INEC. Don't go there for election. But it's a time where it's clear and sure that elections can actually safely be conducted in those places. Then again, that was why also my colleague was speaking about substantial compliance. If you have 4,300 police units in the state, and then the elections take place in about 4,000 police units in compliance with the provisions of the elections, that the election didn't take place in 3 police units will not invalidate that election. But yes, from those police units will argue that they have a right to participate in that election, and so they were disenfranchised. Yes, right to participate, and then of course that you are disenfranchised. In North, really, especially where the number of voters, even accredited voters, that if all of you voted one way or the other, it will not change the result of that election. But for us as human rights and those who would advocate for citizens, disenfranchising a single citizen from conducting election, from participating in election, when it's not his fault, should be serious as encouraging every eligible voter in that area. But that's for another day. So, but I think very likely the absence of electoral officials and personnel provided and even electoral material in certain areas may not be unconnected with issues of security and then the severity of violence in that part of the country. But that's not an excuse that INEC and the search agencies should not have made provision or arrangements for those citizens to have opportunity to participate in the election, exercise civic responsibility, so they will not be disenfranchised. But again, like that of Bayelsa State, the governor was speaking about the threat in Embe Basambri and part of Bayelsa State. You know that during the election, there were issues of serious insecurity and displacement of persons from their homes in that part of Bayelsa State. And then right now, the governor was complaining just this morning after he I think, but speaking about Embe Basambri, and then the exclusion, deliberate exclusion of members of all political parties from coming out to the election. I think for me, this issue an area where the security agents and INEC will have, if you like, marked as special areas. The pre-election instances that occurred before the election. So security arrangements ought to have been in such a way that everybody is able to participate in the election process and cast their vote. But right now we hear reports of threats of members of political parties being allowed to come and participate in the elections. So security needs to actually be reviewed in our electoral process. The role of security agencies that participate in elections shouldn't be just on election day to probably materials and officials in venues, and then to hand down and anticipate any but also the entire planning process. Because that even before the day of election, the security is able to scope areas with early warning signals to know areas that are threat to elections and then prepare the ground for electoral materials and peacefully, and then for the people in those areas to be able to participate in the process.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Harry Kine. We really appreciate that contribution.
Henry, okay.
Okay, Henry. Thank you, Barrister Henry. All right, thank you, Barrister Henry. All right, so he has said it all. He has given us some good updates on this, but surprisingly, we're going to look at the report right now. So it doesn't look like we're just having bad reports around. All right, accredited voters vote peacefully at TTC polling units 7 to 12 and 24, Ward 10, Irete, Owerri West local government area of Imo State. A voter, Divine Akoba, says he has accredited and has voted peacefully. Wow, that's good. Okay, there is a report. We have a report on this, so let's hang on and get the report.
People are voting their mind. So we met before the election. We made everyone to understand that we are here for peace. Vote your mind. Any party, anywhere, just vote your mind. Everything is working. So far, so good. From the ones we have seen so far, we have not gotten any complaint about network having delays or beavers not functioning. Who are voting their mind. So we met before the election. We made everyone to understand that we are here for peace. Vote your mind. Any party, anywhere, just vote your mind. Everything is working. So far, so good. From the ones we have seen so far, we have not gotten any complaint about network having delays or beavers not functioning well. So far, for now, till this moment, no complaints so far. My name is Divine Akomba, and also a leader and a youth leader of this community. Yes, they really came on time. I was surprised, unlike before initially. In fact, I was very, very surprised that they came on time. Something after 10 minutes after 7. So we really, if Nigeria, if we should keep doing like this, I think we will have a way forward.
This is good news. This is good news. So we have a voter actually attesting to the fact that there has been some level of peaceful voting, and that he himself has actually been able to be accredited, and he has cast his vote. But this is just in one polling unit. Yes, if there's anything different from this, we're yet to know. But this is just one polling unit. And how about other polling units in Imo State? I would like to bring you in, Mr. Well.
As I said earlier on, and also want to corroborate what Barrister Mark also said, that you will 100% is not guaranteed, unfortunately. And
with respect to our elections or generally?
With this election and previous elections, so because you will see some infractions here and there, some will be, I want to believe that a kind of a system, a deliberate act in the system to just seclude certain parts. Aside the fact that there are logistic related grounds, but there are some deliberate, even not pronounced, but deliberate, and it's an undertone, deliberate to seclude certain segments, to favor certain candidates, considering the fact that depending on whether it is gubernatorial, whether it is senatorial, as the case may be, I want to believe that in the stance, all along the report that has been coming in has been those who are unable to be accredited, those who are yet to cast out their. Aside that, that's in one space, but in some other space, you will most likely have this kind of report. At the end of the day, a winner will be declared. A winner will be declared.
All right, so coming back to you, Barrister John Mark.
You know, the bad one is actually when they now declare results for those places that that voting didn't actually take place.
Yeah.
That's where the query always come up.
And we've had situations like that.
Yes, that was what happened in which of these states now? Is it
not Kogi that we had forms with sheets already?
I think there was once in what's this state now where at some point result came out and you discovered that the voters.
Okay, that's Kano State now.
Yeah, the voters were more than the registered voters.
Yes.
Where you had 165 the invalid votes.
Yes, I'm not
in Kano State.
This is what causes. So when this result, by the time you get to know the truth, these people have the part of what has caused this delay. So sometimes it turns out to be that the INEC officer actually somewhere.
Yeah.
Some people are printing and voting. So they stay there and do those works. While people are waiting at the by the time they come, they bring it out and you vote a little, say voting has finished. Meanwhile, they have already prepared what they had in mind. For instance, sometimes they deliberately come late as well. They come late, they start late. So that by the time you vote and it's getting dark, they say we are done. We can't even stay and count again. Let us now go to the headquarters where we have security and lights to counter. So when they go there, do their manipulation. Some of these things are deliberate actually.
Okay, all right. So let's see this let's see to this conversation. According to reports from Sam Mbakwe Cargo International Airport, it was observed that the usual busy airport road is completely a shadow of itself. Also on Aba Owerri Road from Obala Junction in Ngo Obala local government area to Wederell Road Junction in Owerri, there were no vehicles seen except those on election duty. Yeah, this is actually in line with the restriction of vehicular movements right since this morning in Imo State. So, with respect to what we're having here, is this supposed to be a strict adherence? Is it to say that there was a total adherence to the restriction? And how far has this helped? And this
the key. People are sitting back in their homes, but the election materials are not coming. So that tells you that the average Nigerian is law compliant, is compliant to the law. He's ready for change, he's ready for the good of the society. But there are a few Nigerians who are probably in the corridors of power that are deliberately frustrating the average Nigerian. It's a clear, spelled out issue here. If Nigerians were recalcitrant about this election, they would have just been on the road driving and causing mayhem here and there. Now this is Imo State where we hear of people shooting, and we've not had any hijacking or people shooting, and we've not. This is the same Imo State we've been talking about. And there's no security challenge. Rather, it is in Bayelsa we're hearing these issues. So the people are good, but their leaders are just the problem here. That's what this translates to, typically. The people are waiting. They were here to vote. You've disappointed us. You didn't bring in Peter Obi. We agree. But now, still come, we'll still do our best. We voted for one man. You brought number 3 to become the governor. No problems. Bring the things. Let's vote now. You don't want to bring it for them to vote again. You want to wait to bring in number 3 again.
All right, let's get straight to Kogi State right now. The governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party in Kogi State, Murtala Ajaka, has commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for the improvements seen in the voting process compared to the 2023 general elections. Mr. Ajaka gave the commendation while speaking after casting his vote in the off-cycle Kogi State governorship election in Ida local government area of the state. The governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party in Kogi State, Murtala Ajaka, has commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for the improvements seen in the voting process compared to the 2023 general election. So, Mr. Ajaka gave the commendation while speaking after casting his vote. So we're still having, this is another good news coming right from Kogi State. This is a gubernatorial candidate actually testifying to the fact that INEC is, INEC has actually improved, and INEC should hear this, and I believe that this is a kind of a green flag for them, not a red flag. I would like you to have your reaction to this with respect to all that INEC has said, and to some extent, people had some complaints when you go to. We started from Kogi State. We had some pre-filled sheets and all that, but the SDP candidate is actually saying something good about INEC's improvement so far.
Yes, I agree. And but if you follow through his statement, he still complained about missing result sheets in some areas in this same report.
Okay.
So it tells you upfront that there's something fishy in Kogi State. Let's not sweep it under the carpet. Dino Melaye is of PDP. The SDP candidate is also complaining. He's complaining of missing result sheet. He commended first, he voted and everything. But then he's still saying there are some missing result sheets in some areas. Now, Dino Melaye has come to say, look, yes, voting is going on, but we are seeing pre-filled results. So what is really going on in Kogi State? Yeah, I really should have some questions to answer.
All right.
What is really going on here? You understand? Now it's that because this is an SDP candidate now saying that they are missing result sheets. So while we a green flag, there's also a red flag.
Okay, Mr. Weld, let's have your
Well, by the time you combine the green flag and the red flag and the white flag, it could be that you'll be teasing towards the PDP. However, we have 3 heavyweights, if not 2 heavyweights in Kogi. Dino Melaye is known for stirring, sometimes unnecessarily, stirring up the politics. And also, it's a drama king par excellence. If he's not hiding on top of the tree, he will also mobilize and say we will resist and all that. So back to the cross of the matter, the SDP candidate, that's Mustafa Ajaka, commending INEC with regards to from his own part. We had that during the February election too, where some juggernauts, some party juggernauts were at their various polling units were commending INEC, only for the result to be declared, and we started singing with another side of the tongue. So it's a process. The process has not been concluded yet.
Okay.
So, however, I don't want to take it away from INEC. I believe that it's their shoe, and that they will do what the provision of the law, particularly the Electoral Act, provided, that they should conduct a free and fair election, fairness to all parties, also not ensuring that materials, voting materials, get to the various polling units as at when you allowing persons to make their civic choice, as the case may be. Commendable. However, I don't want to start singing hallelujah now, because it's a process.
Okay.
It is at the end of the day we get to know whether what he said right now is genuine, or probably we're going to see some abracadabra at the end of the day.
All right. So as the off-season elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states are already ongoing, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has been called on to redeem its image by conducting free, fair, and credible polls in these states. Nigerians have also been called upon to be responsible enough to hold INEC to its words by ensuring that the results are electronically transmitted to the IREF. These are the views of Nigerians who spoke to ATN correspondent in Kaduna. Now, we have some track-offs, we have some reports that are seriously connected to these elections, so we have the reports right now.
What happened during previous elections? We knew what happened. There is a lot of irregularities which happened, and we wouldn't want such to happen again. A place like Kogi, we've had a lot of a kind of insecurity, and if such things should happen, election will not take place. Look at what is happening in Imo. Regards to NSA president, look at what happened. It showed that at this up till now, the security networking over there is not effective. So they should put in order. If truly credible election is going to take place in those places, we need election whereby everybody will stand up and say, INEC has done it. But up till now, we are not been seeing signals as if there won't be any election in regards to those states. So INEC needs to improve on their own kind of way, the way they conduct election. At least they could also learn from the previous election. They know what happened. You know, they can also take correction from what happened from the previous election to also regulate what is going to happen in Imo, Kogi, and on some other places where election.
Basically, only on INEC, it's about the people. It's about the people knowing who they need to vote for and making sure that their votes are counted and they are allotted to the people that they voted for. However, there are lots of misconceptions looking at INEC based on what have happened, the court cases and all that. But I believe that in Kogi, in Bayelsa, and in Imo State, the INEC Electoral Commissioner, they need to be up and doing based on the fact that they need to right their wrong, looking at all the election that they passed. Fine, it's offshoot elections, and looking at it, the IGP has said, okay, let there be so number of vehicles that could be a patrol team in making sure that the election come free, fair, and credible. But my take is, aside INEC doing their part, which is constitutionally objectively stated, the people should hold themselves responsible in voting those who want those particular states to be developed. For instance, Bayelsa State as a state, looking at it, is one of the most blessed and richest states in Nigeria. But it's one of the most poorest states in Nigeria. Why? It's because of poor leadership, people that don't have vision, people that don't have foresight, ideas that will generate or move the state to the next level. So I think it beholds on the people of Bayelsa, the people from Igremo, the people from Ipiatisa, the people from Ogbia, the people from Southern Ijo, and all that. It is their responsibility that come 11th of November, they should go out, cast their vote, and they should hold INEC responsible, because the Electoral Commissioner in Bayelsa State and the Imo State and Kogi State, they made it crystal clear that they're going to transmit votes, and what is being transmitted is what is going to reflect when it gets to the coalition center. So, for me, INEC have promised, but it's left for the people to hold them responsible.
That is the secret of any election. No matter how difficult INEC or security wants to be, if you protect your votes, you refuse to allow them to rig you. You follow your votes to the unit collection center. Follow your votes to local government collection center. Follow your votes to the state headquarters. They will not be able to rig you. I'm telling you, rigging is done, is perpetuated. If the voters allow it, you can be able to deny rigging. I know it. You can deny rigging, but if only you protect your votes.
They are also calling on the electorates to protect their votes from the polling units down to the state collation center so as to avoid rigging and manipulation of results. They are also calling on Nigerians to go out and vote today. And we'll have a report on this. Let's have a report on this.
As a name to protect, because over time people have always have pundits have always have this insinuation that the police are always biased when it comes to election. Gone are those days. Now, one thing I need to still point out is citizens journalism has taken a bulk percentage of when it comes to journalism nowadays. So anything that is happening, people are recording with their phone, people are uploading on the internet. However, the police has a major role to play as a stakeholder, looking at Imo, looking at Bayelsa, and looking at Kogi. Kogi, a lot of things are happening. In Imo State, an NLC person has just been beaten. Nobody is coming out to say that they are responsible. Now the police commissioner in Imo State being redeployed, for me it's a welcome development, because it's more or less like you want to dance to a particular drum beat that will favor some set of people. So for me, I think it's a welcome development. I think all the police commissioners in these three states need to be redeployed. I tell you, in Kaduna State, the police commissioner was redeployed during the general election.
from the report, we have always known that when you cast your votes, it's not supposed to be something you leave for people to take it up from there, especially when we have had some reasons to actually defend the vote. So, but after casting your vote, you're asked to defend it straight to the the state collation, centers and all that. How feasible is this? How possible is this? I would like to bring in Barrister Ekene. Barrister Henry Ekene, we would like to have you on this concerning casting the votes and actually defending the votes and to the collation center. How feasible is this? All right, so let's look at it by the standard of what this is supposed to be. Are we actually, in the real sense of it, are we actually supposed to cast our vote and stay back? Is it actually the norm to cast, or is it because of does this have anything to do with the issues we've had in the past? So people are actually, advised to cast and stay back, see to the end of it.
Well, apparently that's the reason. It's because of the anomalies we've experienced in the past. Now, for instance, during the presidential election in February, in my own polling unit, I had to stay till they came in around 8, 9, and then we waited till about 10, 11, we started voting, and then the elections continued till about 11 p.m.
What?
1 p.m. The election started around 11 p.m. and the counting continued till about 1 a.m. 2 a.m. We finished, and then we told the young man to upload. He says no, that he doesn't have password to upload to the IRF from the polling unit. Now that's where the main challenge is. So we said, look, if we have to allow you go to INEC office, who knows what you're going to upload? So we were there till about 3 a.m. And then some police vans came in and really were asking us to leave so they could take them to go and rest and submit their results. Time has really gone. We had no choice. Okay, let's snap what you have. It was a tug of war. In fact, we were almost going to fight and beat the young man. I had to go in. Some of the punches actually came to me. It was that serious because I was there to make sure I wanted to see the outcome of the whole thing. So at the end of the day, some of them had some respect for me. Oh, Barrister is here, let us watch and so on. So they didn't hit him. And then at the end of the day, they snapped, and we had snapshots of the result sheets. And then he left with the results. We couldn't wait for him. He couldn't upload it. He said he didn't have password. The person that had password, his number is not going through. Lots of stories at the polling. But he left with them to go and upload. I later saw the results on the from the iWave. I didn't download it. So it was exactly what we had in our hands and so on.
And that was possibly the measures you took.
It was because of probably got the measures we took. If they had done something, we had our results sheet. We would have uploaded whatever we had. We had already turned it into several platforms on social media. So now the main thing here is it's because of the things that happened. But we couldn't follow him. Let him get to that point. They were like, we could follow them. Why don't you start following people you don't know, people with guns? Following them by 3 a.m. So we couldn't follow them. And even they were afraid of their own security. Now we just had a few party agents join one vehicle or two vehicles to follow them. So it's a difficult thing to tell people to follow people down to the collation center. Some persons could be there, but it's a difficult thing to do. So the main thing is that if INEC can assure Nigerians of uploading results from the polling unit and actually keep to their words. Once it's uploaded to the IRF from the polling unit, everybody can go home.
All right, so let's have Barrister Henry Ekene right now. I would like to have you react to this. Regarding the voting that is ongoing, it's becoming a day-to-day advice that you vote. You don't leave your votes. You stay to see to the end of it. Is this actually the norm? Is this what it's supposed to be, or has this become the aftermath of what we have experienced in the February March elections, and so everybody has to stay and see to the end of it?
When it's pleasure to you, you will guard it with all of your strength and resources around you. So we understand what the outcome of elections will be, is that it's going to determine what your welfare is going to be like. whether you're going to enhance or is going to worsen. It's going to determine whether you're going to have governance in terms of social and economic that you have, whether your children are going to have good education, access to education, whether you're going to be having housing, to housing, whether you're going to be having opportunity to connect the economic resources that your people understood this. And it talks more the time we will not very that is safeguards our electoral vote. And it becomes more imperative in us in terms of the outcomes of the elections.
Okay.
Your first thought will act and what are the outcomes. That's not really very important. We have seen it already happened in election.
All right. So thank you, Barrister.
What we have always known to happen as just the fact why we need to stay to the end and see what exactly happens with our elections. So, otherwise, if we have a transparent system, I don't need to stay and come cast my vote.
Exactly.
I have trust for anyone. But we do not have trust because the system is not trustworthy. It is not just because we don't want to trust the system. The system itself is not trustworthy.
Okay.
The INEC and the officials are not trustworthy. Then even Jews are not trustworthy.
Okay.
People don't take a risk, get to the point that, oh, they don't be charged, then you're sure that if you have evidence presented to the court, you will get justice. Like, have a lot of confidence, even if it's my choice, but it's an evidence have confidence.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether they don't get justice at this level because you may have to know anything. I was asking something other things with you if you heard whether INEC was taking themselves in pride by the failure of the government that is not the election. No, because most of those houses never got to the effect. When the pre-election ban has most of the get to effect, they either dismissed or struck by the technical consideration. If somebody didn't have levels, or if that time, so oh, this meaning that you didn't get people to sit in theory that petition has brought. So if you're too sure, that's the risk have to go in it.
Okay.
And even when we wait, are we sure we're going to get success and failure? We have to wait. The plan and the guidelines where that you count the votes, tell the winner, let the party agents sign the election from DCA to prepare the next, give the jobs and give the public to display one at unit, let the people start now and get them, then it is required that you transmit, not to hear from the community with the papers or any device on the island.
Okay.
So that's the classification.
All right.
But this thing don't happen. I think in our society it's important to watch. But at point of why not we didn't go the way of the NPA? So I don't even have to get in the vote and talk about saying people want their votes.
Okay. All right.
I don't even have to lose trust into what to move the time that that's point of voting to another point of collection.
Okay.
Collection. Summation. What my friend do when they come every weekend or every day after school that they gave no work. And what they count okay from A to T as it is, and them together and record it in EC8, maybe TV sign. That's what the inflation center ought to do. The Nigerian elections said already much more. They can stop the discussion. They can stop the include inflation center.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister. Okay. Thank you very much, Barrister.
cast my vote, and then nobody moved from I'm not, then I wouldn't anywhere to talk the votes. If I have votes, I want to pay my ticket.
Okay.
I lie on my bed from this my boss open. If my vote, I can talk, I cast my left my vote.
Okay.
I get in my house.
Okay, thank you.
If that place to
Thank you, Barrister Henry.
avoid the manipulation and the violence and pay
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Henry. Straight to you, Mr. Wealth. You know, I kept waiting for this moment because this is a practical experience coming from Barrister John Mark. In fact, I have learned from what he said. You know, now, you know, when a system that is supposed to be transparent with the level of integrity that is expected of them actually begins to fail you and you fold your arms, you really stay helpless and have nothing to work for you. So to an extent, you begin to devise some means that can actually, you know, push things forward the way you had expected from the system. That's exactly what they did in their own case. So are we getting to a point where I would like to have your take on this first of all. Do you totally agree that if they hadn't did what they did, you know, is it possible that INEC, you know, would have still uploaded exactly what they got, the exact results? Before I come to the question, I was actually, was it? Do you see any possibility of INEC actually doing exactly what they were supposed to do, or was that exactly because of how they stage managed the whole situation and, you know, and already had some evidences that that was crystal clear that there is no way they could do otherwise?
You know, when some of these reports fit us in across the board, we pick up experiences, we win maybe far away in Kano or in Kogi or somewhere in Kwara. There are in reports as to how people were, you know, some battered, while some hoodlums will just come, snatch the ballot boxes, and the security agency or some persons, whether known gunmen or unknown gunmen, will come and shoot sporadically, and everybody will go, and somehow the will of the people in that location will seems to have been compromised. What does that send to other areas? You have to be alert, implying that if the system no longer wants to show fairness and trust, then the people should also arise to the occasion by engaging and demanding that the right thing should be done, implying that there is no room for laxity or going or sleeping. So for the accounts that Barrister Mark gave, very, very valid, very supported, that you should demand for what is right. Because when that stance begins to, you know, occupy the consciousness of an average voter, and then the state actors or the electoral umpire, coupled with the party agents who probably had intentions to carry out a script, as it were, knowing fully well the sensitization of the people within that space, then they will probably have a rethink. You know, during the February and March election, we had in the report that there were persons who had the intention to carry out some of these shady acts, and the people resisted and demanded that the right thing should be done.
All right, Mr. Wells, I bring it back to you again now. This can only happen when there is peaceful voting, because definitely from what happened in their own unit, it was a very peaceful, you know, voting process that they had to all stay together. There was no hitch, no problem till about 3 a.m. So that does that go to mean that this cannot actually only happen where you have a very peaceful polling unit?
You know, there are certain signs or indicators you look out for. First and foremost, delay in the materials arrival, which is calculated to win voters. There are some persons to win on health ground may not be able to want to stand for long, but it took the sheer determinations and the sensitization of the people on the accounts that the Barrister Mark gave, that look, we are going to get it right today. And you know that there are some persons who apparently want to take it further than that, until, you know, persons now come there and ensure that they're right. So indicators will show that, look, from the look of things, it seems as if there is a calculated, whether with connivance with INEC officials, also they are trying to save their life or their head, considering the fact that the environment, there could be an erroneous perception that security concern or that area is a volatile area, and if you don't do the will, we've had accounts as to how some persons were maimed and were intimidated to give a result that is apparently not the original result. So oftentimes I know you probably want to say that INEC officials in that area will also want to save their life. Then you also have party agents who will probably also have been given a mandate, whether it is under the influence of Baba Sokpe, that look, you must deliver your polling unit. You know, you have some of these how these things play out. But then again, it boils down on the voters. Now, mass voters awareness will begin to make a movement to demand that look, our vote will count, and we will stay back to ensure that what we voted or what was counted was apparently what will probably be transmitted. Okay. So apparently it's a clearing call. It's a call that voters and requires that they should demand for their rights.
All right, we're heading straight to Bayelsa State right now. Governor Diodiri of Bayelsa State has commended the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for the improvement in its handling of the governorship election in the state. Diri, who spoke shortly after casting his vote at Ward 6, Unit 4, Kalowei, Owei, in St. Paul, Kolokuma, Opokuma local government area of the state, expressed satisfaction with the seamlessness of the exercise. It always goes well. Does it always go well when the governors are there? Everything just seems to be upright, when they're there, because you hardly see any governor that actually has anything negative to say. But afterwards, we begin to wonder why it looks like things begin to go bizarre. I would like to bring you in here.
Nigeria is a country, or Africa generally, I think, we like show business. We like the show business. That's why we have many songs. We like to dance. Our colors are wonderful. And in fact, the Super Eagles, their jersey, I think, is the best in the world entirely, if not second. It should be the best in the world. We have a wonderful, in fact, at the last Olympics or so, where our jersey man thing. We like showmanship in Africa. And so this is the governor's place. You have a wonderful police or security setting. So nobody misbehaves there. You go there, you vote peacefully, and the governor is presented with a microphone to speak to the press. Everybody's excited, and you go. Now, there is a very critical thing about the elections. Bayelsa is PDP. PDP is the incumbent, and then there is Etimipri Silva coming from the opposition party. So now, from his point, it's a smooth election. He speaks well. Now, go to, in the same Bayelsa,
yes,
that is commended, the violence is unprecedented. In the same Bayelsa, Southern Ijaw, in Lugogiri, 5 polling units have been, the election materials have been hijacked. You go to Brass, you go to, there's several places, the reports are all over. It's terrible violence going on right now. Hijacking of materials, INEC officials, kidnapping here and there. Things are going on in Bayelsa State. But here is the governor speaking so well of the election, because in his place where he went to vote, things went on seamlessly. What are we talking about? So it's a problem with this. Even in Imo State, the governor will tell you he has voted, everything is seamless. Go to Kogi, seamless, everything has gone on seamless. The governor has voted, his place is going on, he's commending INEC. You can hear even the opposition guy there, and the SDP guy in Kogi, commending INEC. But we are seeing the results in other places. So if we stop these antics, I think it will help us. Don't just make the central places elegant. Go to the interiors. Absolutely. Let's have good reports from these interior places. What do you need big security for before the government house? Governor already has insecurity. He's not threatened by anybody. So take this into this. We all know that the most volatile place in Bayelsa is Southern Ijaw. So this should have been prevented. But we are having the same reports year in, year out in those areas.
We had reports coming from the IGP that any of these candidates, coming with some security personnel, that it wouldn't be allowed and all that. I think it got to a point where they said it could also lead to an arrest. So they should stay clear. You know.
Yes.
So now, are we actually having the gubernatorial candidates, at least the incumbent governors, you know, and all other contenders? Are we really having them keep to this warning?
Well, to an extent, they do. But you can't leave your governor unprotected. That's a sure thing. The governor can't step out unprotected.
Okay, so what could be the possible reason of asking that their aides are stay clear?
Okay, usually it's to prevent intimidation. It's to prevent intimidation, let people go. And that's why we take off the military from the election process. But unfortunately, the military has conducted better elections than the civilians.
Okay. All right,
Well, I wrote my project on elections in Nigeria dating from I think I even wrote on the 1975 election before I came to the 1999 election. Data shows clearly that whenever the military was involved, they conducted better election. People were afraid of the military. People respected law and order under the military.
That's true.
But under the civilian regime, people are lawless, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mr. Wealth. This question has really been seriously uppermost in my mind concerning the issue of irregularities, the peculiarities that has been so far with what we have experienced in elections in Nigeria. So I would like to bring you in here regarding the possibility of changing the game this time around. Do we begin to look at a period of time in Nigeria where people actually don't have to come out to queue to vote, and we do all of this online to actually have the peaceful, the free and fair, credible election we're talking about? Is it possible for Nigeria to actually begin to think in that level?
Well, as is obtainable in other senior, advanced and mature democracy, it has come to state that technology is the thing. But as to whether we are matured as a people for that, looking at what has pervaded the landscape of our election in the last 20 years, we could see that even if you set up a structure or a system that will showcase people adopting technology 100%, there will still be resistance. Barrister Ekene was saying earlier on that it's not a bad idea if I stay in my house and cast my vote. You know, as into some advanced democracy, people go to work and they cast their vote simply because they trust the system. But in a scenario whereby you don't even trust the system, and the system is guaranteeing or saying that we are moving on to the next phase of purely technology in vote casting, vote collation, and all that, we don't even trust the system to deliver on that.
But at least it will go a long way to save people from being injured. You know, last time February March election, we had a lady who was actually stabbed.
Yes.
You know, because of that understanding of actually fulfilling her civic responsibility, she still came back with that injury and still cast a vote. So to actually ameliorate and stop all of this, don't you think we should?
If you want to go technology, there are a lot of structures that will be in place. We have not gotten power right. We have not gotten server right. We are still disputing INEC server power issue, and there are some communities in our country and some locals and interiors that they've not smelled power in the last 30-40 years. So does it mean that if electricity and some other structure and even service providers that provides the internet access to ensuring the smooth running of election with technology will have not actually have a wider grounded coverage, how can we then be saying we want to go technology? It's a good call. Maybe it's a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year call. But there are certain fundamentals we must lay, structures that we must lay, then before we now begin. Yeah, you probably want to argue that yes, we have with the banks, with some other, technological advanced industry. But there again, it starts up with a process. So I'm not disputing that. But if we want to get it right, it begins with doing the right thing.
All right.
And we have to trust the system.
Thank you very much. So we're still on the matters that concerns the November 11 poll have happening live in Imo, in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi State, and we're still up here trying to find out what is actually happening in Imo State. So we have that Saturday's governorship election in Imo State took off in some parts of the state on a shaky note, with low voter turnout and absence of election officials and materials at some polling units visited. Now, the news agency of Nigeria, NAN, reported that in some polling units, some voters were seen, along with security personnel, waiting for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, officials and materials at about 8:30 a.m. We have actually looked at this before, but we still want to look at exactly what is happening in Imo State, okay? At exactly 8:30 a.m., you gave us a detailed process and experience you had when you were actually involved in the in election itself. Okay, so you actually talked about the geographical and means of getting to some of these places, and I would like to know if this still holds as it concerns just the 3 states. We're talking about just 3 states this time around. Are we still supposed to have such challenges, honestly, being fair to ourselves? We're not talking about the 36 states this time. We're just talking about 3 states. Wasn't it enough for us to have gotten whatever challenge that INEC supposedly could have had sorted out, and we have a smooth elections kick off as early as possible, so we don't have to stay till 1 a.m. like you actually recounted?
Well, it's actually possible to do it, but do the people actually have the will to make this happen? Does INEC have the will to make this happen? That's the question. Now,
but that's what they are called for.
It's a challenge. Now, some of them may be called, may have the will, but maybe from the INEC office proper. But when these polling units of polling officers get to those polling units, the party and so on take them to one corner, and the story changes. Now, from my particular polling unit, when Mr. Wells was talking, he said, I think you also asked him, talking about if there is peace, then that was possible. During the gubernatorial election, a different thing played out. We came up with that mindset again to actually stay, to ensure we see everything to the end. But when we finished voting, the young man said he wasn't going to push it up again.
The same person?
The same person. So we said, no, you have to push it up. Otherwise, bring it, let's snap, let us. Before we said, he said, okay, he wants to make a call. He made a phone call. The next thing, police vans all over, and they took everything and left. We ran for our dear lives. So you see the situation. This is not coming from, in quotes, INEC office, as a polling officer who has been compromised. So these things are, if they really want to act, they can act. Now, we talked about electronic voting. Is this possible? I think it's possible. If everybody can have a voter's card, how did they go to get a voter's card? They went to a particular office. So let them go to those particular offices, and IREV is there in those villages. Yes, now the machine is taken to every village. It's taken to every particular polling unit. So when you get there, you don't need to start thumbprinting physically. You press it in. Now, that's for the villages. Then for the offices, polling officers don't need to go down to in the cities. You don't need to go there. Stay in your houses and vote. But if you can't stay in your house to vote, you can come to a particular polling unit and vote. Just like we did during the INEC voters card registration. I didn't need to go to an INEC office to change my polling unit. In fact, I was in the courtroom when I changed my polling unit with my phone, snapped myself, and ordered my voters card to come to close to my house. And that was what happened. So I could vote. Well, some persons went to INEC office. So make it that way. Some people can stay in their offices, in their bedrooms, in their boardrooms, and vote. While others, you can say, okay, if you don't have a smartphone to vote, if there's no network on your phone or no network in your village, come over to a particular INEC office. By the time you decentralize the whole thing, a polling officer cannot do the opposite.
So this begins to look like we actually know the truth, but we don't want to
act. It's doable, and we know what to do, but people just don't want to act. And let's push to the next level. When we push this burden to the people to say, stay back and fight for your right, stay back and fight for your right, one day you get a revolution. Because if I stay there and the police van comes to pick the if talks come around to pick the vote election materials, and I say no to them, what are they coming with is gun, and I'm not prohibited from getting a gun. I can get my own license. I can get my own gun.
Okay.
So the guy comes with his gun, he shoots, and I shoot. So you have a revolution here.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
It's not for us to stay and fight for our votes, but it's for the system to work.
Okay. Now we're getting back to Kogi State. We have seen a large turnout, high turnout of voters in the same off-cycle elections in some part of Kogi State. So we have a report. Let's have the report, right?
Thank you to the glory of God Almighty, myself, and all of my family members, friends, and relations, and all of the citizens in this particular ward. Of course, in the local governments, in this editorial district, and of course across the state, we are all enthusiastic about this civic responsibility. We have all come out in our numbers to cast our vote. I have just casted my vote along with my family members, and others are casting their vote. It Thank you to the glory of God Almighty, myself, and all of my family members, friends, and relations, and all of the citizens in this particular ward. Of course, in the there's no hitches, very triumphant.
I have just casted my vote, and as you can see, it's just like carnival-like. And I want to use this medium to commend the INEC management for putting in place a very transparent, hitch-free electoral processes. And again, the security agencies, they are doing very wonderfully. As you can see, the election is peaceful and orderly. So I'm happy about that. Thank you.
All right, we just heard the last speaker saying that he wants to commend INEC for putting, in place, what actually helped to have a hit-free election so far. It's like you would have to ask yourself if you heard clearly. But that's the report coming from that young man. Well, we actually still would hope that these reports will be in all of the polling units, okay, so that we at that point can say, yes, INEC has actually done what we actually expect, what we have actually looked out for. Now, the security is still a concern. Security is still a concern. You told us that you recounted again that in the same polling unit after the presidential election, you all gathered again for the gubernatorial elections, and you had a different experience. Now, I would like to ask, In all of this, were there no security officers? Were there no police? Was police not the point where you actually had to start demanding to snap?
All of this were done in the presence of the police officers.
So they stayed all true.
Yes, they were with us. The police officers were with us.
So then they called the election personnel made the INEC personnel. The call he put through. Who were the people that came and you all ran for your lives, including the police?
It was a very funny one now for that gubernatorial election. Now the young man, there were three INEC officials there. The young man who said he wants that he won't record, he doesn't have the result, was there. Then a lady sitting close to him, also wearing the INEC uniform, now stepped out and made that call. One or two police officers were seated with us there. Now, when that call was made, some thugs came around. After some point, some vans came around too. Now, what happened was, all of them joined this group, including the officers. Everybody left the station. So it was as though they hijacked both the officers and the materials and left. Now, reports are there that these were not real police officers, that they are probably people brought into the picture just to manipulate the whole system and everything. So, but the basic thing is that we had challenge of the personnel, the INEC personnel being there, cooperating with us till the latter.
Okay, well, Barrister Henry Ekine would like to have you again regarding the report that just came from Kogi State. We have some people actually commending INEC for all that they have put in place to ensure a hitch-free election. Would like to have your own opinion on this.
The capital unit where officials, government, the president, former president, governor, governors, some highly placed politicians who usually have their votes. Media will then concentrating on the reforms and I is population. Then the road units were to get reports of party getting for those places, good time, and then road on getting close. Let me take this clearly. The thing, those during the elections usually paid and no because come into the election or for any of his when it's not an election. So is that contracted to either the process the benefit of paying or to the process and get whoever is able to stay. So usually these places where they know INEC will know the security agencies know even the talks or the politicians in every locality know that if you need a governorship, they won't go there. So you will never hear any ballot box snatching from the needs of any government. Because the folks in that state who are usually higher than the politicians use the election, they know where they go to. And they know that the report that will come there, that's what the spokesperson start their vote. Immediately, they know it's okay. They have like just mention that and so they will keep the other units. Unit 21 form of another support never has any media by to cover the election. Never. If they are from the date when I was your tax forward and father of the they take the election. You will never get up there. You if the people provide this themselves. Can ourselves as we don't want to fish. Sometimes community people will have better of the election. In most communities that you have election, they already have you not possible this way to go. So some people say, okay, the party or this state community. But whether it was a effect or not, that's the decision of the people. They would success for the knowledge that we are not. It is not achievement by purity agents. It's not an achievement by political party.
Okay.
Achievement by the generally, what I want to say is that I am not satisfied to say that the making of those reforms, then it means that the election is fair, is peaceful, and is credible. Those reforms will come and so it in these places. But for the SCP people, for instance, who spoke about the need to it, and then spoke about the report they have for agents from elsewhere.
Okay.
I think that's a bad thing. I think the governor in Pakistan spoke about good things. If we thought where he spoke about maybe family, that is a strong role of the APC.
Yeah.
So these are the things that the Christians do, and we know all this time. We are in elections, and then you find that when you go outside these very places, you find you need to stop this in elections. Even the city state, where these people are really going to have their own votes. So it's not a representation of what the big situation is. So that they come out saying anywhere, or the most not a substantial what the election experience is across the constituency, state, or even the country.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Barrister Henry Akine. We thank you for that response. Thank you so much. Let's get straight to, let's take this story away before we go on a short break. Let's see what is still happening in Imo State. Now, the Imo State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, on Saturday, that's today, said nobody can stop him from winning the governorship election. He stated this while fielding questions shortly after the vote, after he voted at his polling unit 012 at Amaimo Central School in Ikeduru, local council area in the state. Now, Anyanwu's stand was that any issue of ballot snatching or violence would not count based on INEC's instruction. He mentioned that one Charles Amadi came to disturb. I do not care because they cannot stop my winning. I am sure our agents have made a formal report about it. INEC has said that any place that there is violence or snatching of election results, that results will not count. That is why I am not bothered, he said. Okay, that's good. He believes in what INEC has said so far, yes, and he's holding up to it. So, Mr. Weld, I'd like you to quickly tell us what you think about this. The confidence is really very, very, you can't just not notice the confidence. I hope the confidence is just in what INEC can actually do. I hope there is nothing outside the auspices of what INEC can actually do. The confidence is quite commendable. I would like you to.
Yes, the confidence is quite commendable, but you should also be wary of the fact that if the opposing party or persons who probably will not want his candidature to emerge, they can decide to sabotage that polling unit.
And that's not the first time.
So if that polling unit is sabotaged, or any other one that probably is his strongholds or the party's strongholds, remember INEC said it will not be count.
Yeah.
So, and if it's not going to be count, that's a minus to the collective idea as to them winning, the party winning, that election. But be that as it may, it's good, as we said earlier, that persons, party strongholds and candidates who probably at various locations are commending INEC. So implying that INEC at this early stage has suddenly become the prize of all.
Yes.
However, I hope that the same commendation and confidence reposed in INEC will not change if the true picture of a result begin to filter in, hopefully in the next couple of hours, as the case may be.
So, Barrister, do you think we shouldn't raise some kind of rejoicing? We should wait till the goal is scored, that at the end of it all, are we actually supposed to keep our fingers crossed even when INEC seems to, some people, according to their own observations, that INEC to an extent has really done what it seems like there has been some hit-free elections in their own polling units. Do you think it's too early to start coming up with these observations?
Well, if their polling units are doing well, fine. It's good they comment. It's not a bad thing. I'm a person that believes that, look, if somebody is doing well in the earliest part of their time, commend him. Because when he starts misbehaving, you won't be told to to cast wrong words or things. People are always good at the negatives. So if they are saying good things, it's good they comment. Even at the, and then when if the music turns the other way around, don't also do any reservation. Spill it out.
All right.
So it's
All right.
fine.
At this point, we'd like to go on a short break. Viewers, you can't just you can't beat the next conversations we have for you. But we'll go on a short break, and after that, we'll be back with more breathtaking conversations regarding the November polls, November 11 polls. Stay with us.
Of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake. Of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics 2023 elections. Who are the candidates?